If you look at, from what we understand, if you look at the project, the whole project was held to a 4-to-1 slope, except for her property because it was too challenging to get a 4-to-1 slope. So they said, well, a 3-to-1 slope is actually okay. So she was already kind of put in a pickle just because her property was, higher. And her driveway is too steep, her yard's too steep. She has to reverse up her driveway and let the door swing out so it doesn't close on her because it's so steep. It's just been a bad project so far for her. And personally, I was looking at the documents that were submitted to you guys, and the revised drawing states a 12-inch curb, but in your, it was stated, what he's gonna talk about, it says an 18-inch. So I don't know if they bid on the 12-inch curb or the 18-inch curb, because the documents still say a 12-inch curb, even though what you're gonna vote on is, I guess, an 18-inch curb. So I think it kind of needs to be cleaned up also. I don't know if the bids were based on that 12-inch curb or the 18-inch curb. I actually met with the block contractor out here who met with Dan right before he showed up to the property. And he had seen the stuff that Dan and I talked about, and we talked about the 18-inch high wall. So I don't even know if both the contractors are on the same page. Thank you.
Thank you, Clayton. Anybody else in the audience? Anybody online, Octavia? All right. Move on to reports from chairman and committee members. I have no report. Alderwoman Tice?
No report.
Alderwoman Goode?
No report.
Alderman Egger? No report. All right, we'll move on to department reports, and we have Public Works Department.
Okay, have just a bunch of different projects to give you updates on. So starting up at the top, the McKnight Road project, I don't know if anybody's been out there, but we did the installation of the new components that they gave us. So the only thing that isn't working, which they gave us a replacement for, is the radio antenna on the Ladue side. So I know that they flash, I know it sends me data, I can pull it up with the software that they gave us. Whenever we get our bucket truck next week, we're planning on going back up on the Ladue side, pulling a fuse, seeing if it'll reboot. If it doesn't, then the technician told us we would need to replace it with the replacement part. So everything else seems to be working, but with that side not working, then I don't believe that my camera is working. There's supposed to be a camera on top, which I know there is, we installed it, but I can't get it to show me the live feed or anything online. So my goal is to, once that's finished, see if everything works. If it does, great. If not, then they're gonna have to make a trip down to St. Louis to see what they can do. On 2832, 2820 at Manderley, we'll talk about that later. There's more detail on that for a cost estimate. And then I know we delivered the retaining wall material just to show the property owner, which we'll talk about later as well. Manchester Road, there's several different streetlights that are out, which I know we keep repeating since these take forever to get. So you've got the ones that are hooked up to a cabinet that's near Dorothy. Those 6 are still not working only because we don't have the cabinet. The cabinet's expected sometime in May or June. It's being built as we speak. Then we've got the 4 streetlights near the former Circle K on the north side. I know that the contractor called in locate, so he's expecting to start that, if not next week, then the week after it. So those 4 will be working again. And then we have 2 other ones that are out in the system. Both of those were damaged, one over by the self-storage and the other by the Rock Church. And those should ship out sometime in May. Those were ordered as well. The sidewalk cutting project is done. I know we received the invoice. There were 294 vertical deviations, which took care of like 1,044 linear feet of sidewalk. So they cut out those defects, and that was a little over $20,400. And we like doing that. We did it on Eulalie. We did this in Ward 4, so we'll look at doing some other areas after we do some internal work, see what we have left with budget. And this is pretty easy and straightforward. You can do it in just a few days. Hampton Creek Sanitary Relief, that MSD project, there's really no change since we last updated the committee. So it still looks like construction's anticipated maybe August or September of this year. That's the 3 large diameter pipes that go through Black Creek near Manchester and Hanley. So really no change there. Solar streetlights, I know we did the survey that was due on March 27th. And this is for Douglas Court and Mary Kay Court. So you see the results there. It's pretty close for Mary Kay. It's 5 in favor, 3 in opposition. But Douglas Court, the overwhelming majority, 18 in favor, 2 in opposition, want solar streetlights. So we're getting quotes. It would be similar to the ones we put in on Bedford, Laverne, and I'm trying to think where the other one is. We've got their square posts. Solar lights are on the top. You know, you don't see a panel or anything. It's pretty clean design, and they look like decorative lights you'd see in parking lots, but they're meant for streets. Street sweeping, we're actually doing the normal schedule like we always do, April through November. I know media updates were posted for social media. Residents, you know, were asked to refrain from street parking on their respective day, and if you didn't know what day that was, there was a QR code the communications manager put in there. You can just scan it, and it takes you to the city's website and gives you the schedule. And then lastly, the stormwater.
Are we supposed to tease
Oh, the what?
what's
No.
the name?
No, I won't say the name.
Okay.
There is a name that communications is going to give it. Yeah, we never named it. Other cities have, but, and I think if we do that one, we'll probably do the fire truck. So it's coming. Yeah.
Sweet gum?
No, that would be neat though.
What did, who named, like, was there a contest to name it?
I don't remember.
I didn't, I miss,
Yeah. Yeah, Michelle had it, yeah. Yeah.
oh,
Yep.
that's fun.
Yeah, basically a year after we got it or so. And then stormwater bid package 1, I have the plans and specs. I'm going through that. Gonzalez Company sent those. So once we get the dates and everything finalized in that bid package, those will go out. We'll get bids. The goal would be to bring the bids back next month and get going on that. Yep.
Right.
And I don't know if you have any other questions. I think that was it.
No?
Quick question. So it looks like sidewalk cutting came in 9,000 under budget. So is that what you're thinking of repurposing somewhere else in town?
Yes, yeah, if we don't use it internally, then I would just, we already had them look at another group of projects. I think it was on, I want to say it was Rosalie, but because they were already on Eulalie, it's like, just so we always have like a group of projects that they can look at, and they look at it first to see if it's a candidate or not. You know, if it's that it's less than 2 inches, but say greater than 3/8 of an inch, the machine can cut it horizontally. If it's too shallow, we have to grind it. If it's too thick, like more than 2 inches, we just have to replace it.
Okay, so with we'll still use all 29,000 for
Oh, yes.
this project. We were able to get the original section costed less than inspected for Brentwood Forest, and we'll just repurpose it elsewhere.
Yep.
Oh, that's nice. Thank you.
Yep.
Questions? Dan, I noticed, I noticed during the Easter egg hunt that both temporary lots were used. But I also noticed one day driving down Manchester Road, we had a lot of dust coming off those lots. When will that all start?
Yeah, we haven't sprayed them yet. We still have the, we've got a granule and we've got a liquid that we're gonna try at Public Works to see which works better. You know, I think in my opinion, the liquid only because you can see as you're applying it, so you would see what's wet, and then when it dries, supposedly it binds to the fines and it won't let them blow away. The granule, you use a broadcast spreader like you would on your lawn, and then you wet it, and it's supposed to absorb just like the other, but
When do you think that'll start, and also the trench work? So,
I wasn't gonna use it yet because the trench work is something we planned on doing not next week, but the week after, because I've got another project I wanted to do next week ahead of it. But I thought, well, once we're done with it, clean up the rock, then you would spray that lot.
Good.
Or put the granules.
all right, thank you, Dan.
Yep.
Move on to Parks and Rec Department. Eric?
Very far away today. I don't know. A few things for us that were in diligent. The first is there was a request from Brentwood High School to honor Coach Mike Immigrant. Mike had been the Brentwood High School coach, or been a part of the program for over 30 years. Their recommendation was to do either a bullpen or the dugout. So I kind of listed the naming rights facility, or the naming rights section of the policy. And really what it kind of comes down to is he would be eligible for, the field one's actually already named after Jim Taylor, who is another former baseball coach. That was done a long time ago, well before my time. And so the only thing that would be available for would be for what is considered a secondary facility. So that would make the bullpen or the dugout. So that's something we're interested in doing. The next step would be for the high school to submit a formal application that would be then brought to the Board of Aldermen for discussion. So that's what we'll probably tell them, since everyone seems to be shaking their head yes. The 250th anniversary of America, we are kind of starting talking about that internally in-house. That is a couple things. That's right during July, which is Parks and Rec month. So we always do a few things for Parks and Rec month already. We also have our summer concert series that is being kind of rebranded this year, or it's called Family Nights in Brentwood Park. So it's kind of, as we talked, a combination of the summer concert series and Saturdays in the park. So we could do something with that during July. We've talked about obviously doing stuff like landscaping, and could we plant, or not plant, but could we put out flags, and a lot of those different things. So we're looking at those internally to see what we can do. In addition, Brentwood Days makes sense if we wanted to kind of tag that on to Brentwood Days as well. We'll have that discussion. We already have a name, Red, White, and Brentwood Days, so we've already started talking about that internally. So lots of things we can do, so we'll bring back more information here in the near future. The dog park, we actually have an update from what's actually in there. We have the sod. Sod was laid on Monday and Tuesday, so now we're watering it, trying to get it established. If you haven't been out there, it looks really nice. It won't look that way long, but it is nice now, and it does. I mean, the dogs will love it, and I think it'll be a great addition, and it kind of cleans up that whole area. So we're excited about that. Manchester Road Tunnel. So I kind of mentioned in a weekly update that we had 7 lights in the tunnel that have been malfunctioned, and it's been kind of going out, and we've been talking with the manufacturer. The good news is that they are under warranty. The bad news is when that happens, you have to shift them all the way back to the manufacturer, which is San Diego. They pay for shipping, they return it, so no cost to us whatsoever. It just means that we're missing those 7 lights in the tunnel. So staff they're kind of all over the place, so staff actually rearranged the lights, so we had one full side of full lights and then half of the other side, so hopefully it's not too noticeable. I've been checking video and it seems okay. So we hope to get that back in 4 to 6 weeks is what they said. The goose management program. So as you guys know, we've been talking about goose management for the last few years and been working with USDA APHIS Wildlife Services to help us with that program. Unfortunately, due to some personnel changes, they will no longer be able to assist us. So in talking with them, and honestly talking with Geese Peace as well, we talked about the best course of action, and really it was kind of take it in-house. And I was reluctant because that is a lot of work, but in the same right, in retrospect, as we've been doing this, it's much better because we're out there every day, we do everything. And so staff is kind of making sure that we follow the recommendations of not only MDC, but also USDA APHIS and also Geese Peace. So they're very similar. They all follow the same recommendations. And as we've talked about, there's 2 goals in a goose management program. And one is to encourage them to leave the park and find another place. And 2, if they are kind of hanging around, make sure they don't nest and make sure they don't lay eggs. And if they lay eggs, to handle them humanely, addle them, oil them, things like that. So we got some training from USDA APHIS. We talked to Geese Peace, got some training from them as well. And so we feel pretty confident in our ability to make sure, especially this time, because this is when they're nesting, is making sure that we do everything proper. And so the good news is, as I kind of put there, is we've been tracking everything for probably the last month, and Brentwood Park only has 5 to 6 geese in there right now. They are comfortable. They like the lake. They like the creek. They're not nesting, so we've not found any nests. We have not seen those 6 birds change their behavior where it seems like one might be nesting, so we've been tracking that pretty much on a regular basis. We also have been looking at the Gateway Fountain, which is kind of where this whole thing started 10, 15 years ago. We did have a pair of geese who had settled and had set up a nest and had laid 4 eggs. Unfortunately, it looks like a predator got the male geese, which is unfortunate, and also got all 4 eggs. So right now, the female goose is still around, but she's not on the nest anymore because all the eggs have been destroyed. We also started looking at the wetland arboretum. It's kind of a new spot. We hadn't really thought about that in the past, but now that we have kind of done some work in there, we want to make sure we kind of look at that as well. And so right now there's been basically 1 goose kind of hanging around there. Again, not nesting, not doing anything else. So right now we feel like we're in good shape, which is good. Secondarily is the second point, which is, how do you encourage them to go on? And some of those harassment techniques recommended by MDC to help geese relocate. And so obviously that's where an organization like USDA APHIS could do more. They had pyrotechnics, they had the loud screamers. Those are the things we don't have. So we've been looking into a lot of different things. Obviously the recommended ones are things like green lasers, and so we're looking at that. And then we've also talked about, I'll skip back, the Gooseinator. That is something that Geese Beast brought to our attention. They have 2 different organizations in St. Louis who've utilized it. They've seen it in action. It works out really well. I left the website. Hopefully you guys went on the website and saw it in action. And so I've been in contact with the company to get more information. The good news is that it is, it's not expensive. It's a couple $1,000s. It's well within our budget. It'd be within our operational budget if this is what we decide to do. And so that is something that we're kind of evaluating some more and look at to see if it's a viable option. Another thing that has been recommended is the use of decoys, and that is something that is not recommended by the USDA, by MDC, or even by Geese Peace. It's obviously something we can do. What basically those 3 organizations say is that ultimately at first, goose might get a little bit scared, but they habituate to those decoys pretty quickly. Once they notice that they're not moving around, and even if you move them, once they notice that they're decoys, they're not scared anymore. And so that's kind of the issue with those. We're happy to try it and see if we have better success. We've looked at a couple. There's a fox and a coyote one. There's different types. There's a cardboard version, and those get really poor reviews because basically they fade real quickly, and in a heavy storm they degrade. There's also more of a kind of a vinyl / rubber type, more 3D realistic version. You look at those, they have tails that move too. That's what's supposed to help it keep moving on. I've done a lot of research, if you can't tell. The idea with those, the reviews, it's either, oh, they're great, worked right away, or it worked for 3 minutes and then the geese come right back up to it. So we're happy to do it. It's not that much of a financial, I think it's $100 for 2 decoys. So we're happy to do that if that's something we want to do, and we can get those out on the out pretty quickly. So order them through Home Depot and get them delivered to Brentwood, and then get them out if that's what we want to do. So that is a very long goose management update, but wanted to make sure it was a decent one for you guys.
Thanks, Eric. Any questions regarding geese?
Oh, thank you for that thorough report, and thanks to your staff for taking this on. So we have some residents who are convinced that these decoys work. I'm wondering if it's worth an investment of $100 to use them. Maybe they work, maybe we'll get, or maybe it'll keep them off the path. Maybe it's just enough that maybe it's not going to scare them away, but it might keep them off of the path around the pond. It seems like something worth trying.
And we're happy to do that. Again, I just wanted to make sure
No,
everyone was aware
I'm well
of-
aware that and I've looked enough, and I'm well aware
Yes.
that the science says that the studies say that they don't work.
So delivery, I think I can get it in a couple days. So I think early, end of next week, the following week, I can have those up in Brentwood Park. I don't think we'll put one at the fountain yet because we only see that 1 goose. So we want to see how they work. And if we do get more, we can move one to the fountain. We can always order another one if that's what we need to do. So we can easily do those type of things.
And then the Gooseinator, I really enjoyed looking at the video of the Gooseinator. So I guess I would look to your staff to recommend whether you all think that would be a useful tool or not.
staff has looked at it. We want to do some more research. Ironically, it comes out of Colorado. It started in Denver, and I do a lot of stuff with accreditation. And I'm going to Golden Week, Colorado on Monday, who ironically have a Goosenator. So I will be able to kind of see it in action and talk to them a little bit more about it. Their neighboring community, Arvada, also has one. So I'll be able to kind of pick their brains a lot on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday when I'm out there for my accreditation visit. So.
Time you get some direction on.
Yeah, we'll get those ordered and we'll have them up, like I said, in end of next week at the very latest, I think. Public Works Park Maintenance Garage update. We've kind of talked about this before, and so we're at the point where we're kind of ready to move forward with the next step. And there's the next two steps would be to have BOLA assign the task order with Navigate Building Solutions to help us through the RFQ process and help us through bidding and to get an architect design service firm on staff or on board to then start working on the design. And once we get the design done, then we can bring funding, the costs and funding options back to the board, back to this committee for discussion. So we hope both of those things are within our budget. Right now we have $250,000, as you know, split between both Fund 40 and Fund 50. So the Navigates is $90,000 for this first task order, and then we expect the design task order to be that $160,000. So we'll know more. We'll be bringing the contract with the design firm back to the Public Works. I kind of skipped that part. So we'll obviously be bringing that back once the RFQ is submitted, and we'll bring that back here for discussion, then to the board for approval. So, but we'd like to get moving on that so we can get moving on that project more than anything else.
Questions?
I do have two more fun things I did not add. Sorry, these all happened late yesterday and early today, so I wasn't able to get everything into board, or diligent, sorry. The first is St. Louis Shakespeare Festival. So if you know, for a couple years, I've been trying to work with the Shakespeare Festival because they do a touring performance. They do about 30 dates in the summer throughout different parks. They're at like Missouri Botanical Garden. They go to Shaw Park, they go out to O'Day Park. And so we've been in contact with them, and I'm meeting with a representative tomorrow morning. So the hope is they have 3 dates in August. So we are available 2 of those 3 dates. So we feel like we're in a good spot. So the whole idea is to just make sure that they like the park, they like the amphitheater, and then we'll go from there. So we hope I'll have an update in an upcoming weekly report and at the next Public Works meeting. But we're real excited. This year, it's 2 Gentlemen of Verona is a performance, so we're excited about that. And last, we were contacted by the middle school, like I said, yesterday. They want to do the 5K run at Brentwood Days like they've done in the past 2 years. Again, they've been great partners with that. They do everything they can to minimize staff involvement so that they know that we're busy with Brentwood Days. So they're asking to do the same thing they had the last 2 years. Start at the pavilion. They don't need the pavilion. They just start there. They run through the park. They run through a little bit of Rogers Parkway, finish up, and kind of clean up everything themselves. So they've been really good about that. They're also wanting to utilize a room at the community center on Friday for packet pickup, which again, we block off those rooms because of Brentwood Day. So that's worked out the last 2 years as well. So this is, again, a kind of a no-brainer for us to kind of say, yes, we're happy to work with you guys again on this event. So that's it.
All right. Let's go ahead and while we got you up there, move into the Sustainability Commission report.
Yes. Unless I didn't bring up here. Much shorter. The first is just the fact that we have started Lomo April. And so that has been going well. We've done some social media push. We've done our normal stuff with that. And we've had a number of residents pick up yard signs. I think it's like 12 to 15 at this point. So that continues to be a good program for the city. The sustainability toolkits, we are getting all that information on our website and getting it ready for our kickoff on April 22nd, which coincides with Earth Day. We're also doing a video, which shockingly every member of the sustainability community is going to help out and be our our actor. So this is great. I kind of joke around at the last City Bill Commission, like, hey, if you don't do it, we'll volunteer some people in my department, and everyone was real interested. So Sophie, who's our marketing person, is going to be doing all the video and has kind of got everything worked out. So I think that's next week. Conveniently, I'm out of town again. Like I said, so that's perfect for me, so I don't have to be on video. So that will be ready to go for April 22nd. We're real excited about this new initiative. And last is Charging Smart. We've talked to you guys a little bit about Soul Smart before, which is the solar panels, and Charging Smart, which is EV chargers. Told you that they'd lost their funding, both those programs. Well, Charging Smart has received their funding again. And so they contacted us and wanted to know if we wanted to pick back up. We, of course, said yes. So we're working on that. We're pretty close to a bronze designation already, so hopefully we'll get that next month or two. I did ask, and Soul Smart is still paused. They still don't have their funding for Soul Smart, but we did get silver right before they kind of lost their funding, so we're in a good spot there. So we're excited to come back with Charging Smart. That was it.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
On the Planning and Development Department, Whitney?
Evening. So for the building division for the month of March, there were 173 new building permits and 1,041 inspections, 16 new code enforcement cases, and 31 inspections. April, as indicated by Eric, April begins the low mow April, so code enforcement of high grass and weeds is suspended for the entire month. We're also in the process of business license renewal, and as of last week, there were 539 active licenses, 14 issued last week, and 19 business licenses in the renewing state, and 95 that hadn't started the renewal process yet. However, letters have gone out to all of the expired and overdue invoices, so we are seeing a pickup of those this week. Also, contractor registrations. Last week, there were 1,541 contractor credentials issued, with 11 issued last week and 2 in the renewal awaiting payment stage. The Architectural Review Board met on March 31st and will meet again next week on April 16th. 2 of the projects on the 31st were postponed to the 16th. New home construction, the new rear screen porch and deck addition at 9416 was approved as submitted. And April 16th will include the 2002 South Brentwood Avenue, changes to the exterior of the building. 8718 Eulalie, a new home construction. 2905 Brazil, new home construction. And 9417 Sonora, one-story addition, and 8646 Eulalie, a rear home addition. In addition, at the April 2nd Ways and Means Committee, I presented a text amendment to remove the requirement that dance halls and dance schools are required to be reviewed at the Public Safety Committee. Since they're either a permitted use or a conditional use throughout the city, we felt that it was inefficient to have it also reviewed at Public Safety. And we also included some minor text amendments to comply with state law. Planning and Zoning Commission met last night. The townhomes at 8815 Madge was continued to the May 13th meeting. They are still revising their drawings. The Code Red Dance Studio at 8516 through 8518 Manchester Road received a recommendation for approval for the conditional use permit, so that will be at the May Board of Aldermen meeting. And then the Brentwood Promenade subdivision also received approval, so that will also be at the May meeting. The Board of Adjustment met on March 26th to review 2 projects, but the fence modifications at 8601 Rosalie was approved with modifications, and the 8134 Florence Avenue was continued to the April 23rd meeting. So next week, or 2 weeks from tonight, we'll have that item and the new application at 2331 Hill Avenue for a fence along Harrison Avenue. So a fence within the front yard setback.
I just have a quick one, Whitney. Under the new design guidelines that we passed, that one that had the rear screen porch addition, would that type of build no longer need to go before?
We did discuss that with the ARB. We were on the fence about it, so that's why we went ahead and moved it forward. It was approximately a 400 square foot addition, so the size of it we felt required review, and it was an addition on top of an addition to the house.
Okay,
So that's why we brought it forward.
just curious. All right, thank you. All right. I guess that takes us to the consent agenda, which was the minutes from our last meeting. If there's no changes, can we just do acclamation? Okay, we will. Moving on to old business, we have 8829 Russell Avenue, and I guess this is Dan.
I think I'm here the rest of the time.
Okay.
8829 Russell, that is under old business. As was discussed earlier, this is tied to the Russell STP project that we did a couple of years ago. So at 8829, which is at the corner of Collier, they weren't able to get to a 3-to-1 slope. That's what was called out in the plans. There's a few areas that they were able to get to that or better, but there's a large section that they couldn't. So the engineers looked at either doing a 12-inch and then later an 18-inch wall, and then we had asked for a quote for a 12 and an 18-inch. We do have the 18-inch, and that's what is in the packet. I don't know because I can't open up Diligent, but I know in the memo that is correct. So the 18-inch S-type curb wall is $17,283. And if you look at the block wall, the Versalock wall, that's $33,205.60. So the difference, they're in the same location, same height. The difference is roughly $15,922. So almost 16 grand difference. Both solutions, when implemented, would get you a better slope, at least at 3-to-1. But my recommendation was, to do the poured concrete since it was the lowest cost solution to achieve the required slope. And there is a concrete wall to the east of there, adjacent to the property with the retaining wall. That's the commercial property, but wasn't sure which way you'd want to go on this one.
So I think you have a picture of it. Was that the only place we need to do any type of retaining in this whole project?
Well, to the east of there, that's a new S-type wall that's going, you can see it like in the second picture. To the east of that driveway with the car that's parked, that was all new retaining wall there. So that's an S-type wall. That's got the riprap, the big chunks of rock that's sandwiched between it and the other wall. So this would look similar to that, except it'd be 18 inches tall and run parallel to the north edge of the sidewalk, but then also go up the west side of the driveway as well.
The west side of the driveway.
The one that's in the, what would be the foreground closest to us. So like where you see the strings and the stakes, that's where the wall, regardless of type, would be positioned.
But it's on the sidewalk side, it's not going into the driveway.
It does go partly up both. Yeah, that's the way it was designed, to help flatten that slope along there as well. Otherwise, you're gonna have that like dirt that kind of cascades down and then touches the driveway. This is to keep it flatter as you're going parallel to the north edge, the backside of the sidewalk. I wouldn't do it without that just because I don't think it's gonna work well. But both proposals included that L shape. It's just, one's more expensive because I asked him, it's like, why it's more expensive? He said, well, with the concrete, all they have to do is put the forms in, a little bit of reinforcement, pour it, strip the forms, backfill. With the block wall, there's a lot more labor. It's like getting the base course and then putting each individual block, pinning it. He just said it's a lot more labor hours. I just didn't think it would be that much more.
If it's block wall, who maintains it going forward?
I wouldn't want to maintain it. I mean, we've got a few limited walls. That's the other point, is that it's on right of way, so it'd be the city's, you know. Because the right of way is a couple of feet behind the back edge of that, so whether it's one or the other, you know, it's on the city's property.
Guess what he's saying is maintenance of that would require going out for bid and having somebody else do it other than staff versus concrete. Is
Yeah.
that what you're saying, which we can do
Yeah,
internally?
because like concrete walls, I mean, we typically don't have issues with curbs. If there is an issue with a curb, we patch it or we cut it out, cut in a new piece. You know, with the block wall, if there's a failure somewhere, you're gonna have to break it down until you get to the failure point and then bring it back up.
Worms, but if the homeowner wanted a block wall and we're willing to pay for a brick wall or a concrete wall, is it worth offering to the homeowner, you pay the difference? Or would that still create a maintenance problem long-term? Is that?
Still a maintenance issue there, and we would need to talk to the city attorney also on releases or maybe any future expense to maintain it, there would be some sort of equal share in that expense.
And is this the wall that would be constructed either way, that is in the city right away?
Yes.
Okay. So how would, if the owner would accept responsibility for maintaining it, they can't because it's on city property?
Any ways to look at this? Is the city wanting to make a decision to fund option B, which is a higher expense, and then possibly ongoing expense that would require a third party to do it, or option A? We would still need to talk to the city attorney to see how that would be resolved depending on which options you all prefer, A or B.
Appropriate, I'm guessing you're the homeowner, based on where you're sitting, to ask if we
No.
fund concrete level and you funded the difference between concrete and brick level, is that just not, is that a conversation worth having, or is that kind of like, no, thank you?
Go ahead to podium.
Well, yeah, I would consider it. See, I'm a residence, not a business, so I think that just the aesthetics of the concrete wall wouldn't, and would not be good. Also, the rest of the neighborhood had a 4-to-1 slope, and they're proposing a 3-to, so we were thinking like, well, maybe if we wanted to add on to make it taller, so that, see, I mow it myself, and it would be, you know, it would just be a better situation for me. And I don't know if they would have put the retaining wall there in the first place, you know, not taking out half the yard, it just created a bigger problem, you know. They could have maybe prevented, you know, because half the yard's missing, so the mowing is very, very difficult. So.
Yeah, you need to reduce that slope.
So, yeah, the rest of the neighborhood is more of a 4-to-1 slope. And when we did the strings and the stakes and all of that, it's pretty far off. And it's a big stretch. It's not just a little, it's just not like a little hill, you know, it's the whole yard. And it's long and it's hard to mow.
Sure, go ahead, Clayton.
Yeah, and so did the mayor stop by, or did he just talk to you on the phone?
No, well, he stopped.
He stopped by.
Initially, when it all started, the mayor stopped by, and he said, they will build you a block wall.
I've talked to the mayor since then. He said he doesn't have the authority to commit to something like that.
Sure.
Well,
I
no,
He would have never said
But
that.
he goes, go to an address on Pine,
I
and
thought it was Pine or Park Ridge. You know,
Pine, I think it's Pine, but.
He listed a city-owned retaining wall that staff built, and I don't know if that is an option also for staff to construct it. That would save quite a bit of money too.
Yeah, but
That's the one
anyway,
he told us
yeah,
to go
he
look
he
at to
goes,
see an
go look at that
example
wall,
of
and
what
that's
Brentwood had done for
kind of
another
what
situation.
we'll do for you.
But Just from my perspective, I think as stewards of funding, like, we have to go with, on some level, the lower option, because otherwise it's that extra $15,000 divided by every citizen in Brentwood, more or less, so that's kind of hard to ask everyone to pay for. But if the city did the brick, or did the concrete, like, hey, this is what we're willing to pay for, and you wanted a nicer version, I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to that. I'm just one person, though, so.
I don't know if do you think the 18-inch wall is gonna, will you meet your slope with an 18-inch wall? Originally, it was a 12-inch wall, now it's an 18-inch wall.
Dan?
Yeah, TWM did the design, so they did elevations, and they said that if you did do 12 would barely meet it, 18 definitely will meet it. So
Meet a 3-to-1 or a 4-to-1?
3-to-1, which was in the spec, so they're just following the spec. If you do 18-inch, you're actually getting at least 4-to-1 or possibly even better, depends on where you are, along that segment.
Can you,
18's better than 12 to get it flatter, but just to meet the spec, which the contractor was obligated to do the 3-to-1, that's the 12. So 18, that's why we did apples to apples, 18 for a concrete, 18 for a block.
Nancy, did you have a question?
Yeah, I do. So this is I also have a steep driveway and a retaining wall, and so I know when we go to sell the house, the city's gonna have us put up safety, like a safety wall. Is this steep enough that it also needs a fence? Because someone could fall off and hurt themselves, so I'm looking back at Whitney to see what the height is where we require a fence on top to be safe. And I want to make sure that if that's required, we do that.
No, it's only if it's a designated walking path and there's a drop of more than 30 inches.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you.
Sure, Clayton.
And when Dan came out to meet us and we talked about it, we also did discuss what would be is that the west side? And that doesn't seem to be included, but that also did not meet the slope requirements.
Well, I think,
To the other side of the driveway.
That's,
Is that not what is that?
they included the west side.
The east side, excuse me, the east side.
Yeah, the east side was never part of the plan for the.
It doesn't meet the slope, they modified and it doesn't meet the slope requirements also.
Dan, for the members of the committee that weren't here, could you kind of go back to the day that, with all the property owners, how we reached out to each one of them to get the easement and construction,
Yeah,
easements?
Or Cullen was the negotiator during that easement negotiation process, and I know some would want something in exchange for the property. I know this one, I believe it was the driveway off of Russell was widened and made different, it was concrete. I don't know if you had asphalt or concrete there to begin with. I think you did, yeah. But I know it increased in area. And then down the line, I know there were some other things that they did to improve. There's like a garage towards the west end, closer to Bremerton, that they changed the apron to make it more accessible. Before it was pretty narrow, so there were changes that they did. And some people had some trees that, they were paid for because the private tree had to come out in order to do the project.
So everything was set to an agreement at that point
Correct.
for each property owner. But the problem we have here is that the grade wasn't done to the spec of the original plans.
Spec is 3-to-1, but as they pointed out, it does not meet 3-to-1 across the big chunk in the middle.
Yeah.
And in order to get to that, that's these solutions.
Bola, is this something we could possibly run by the city attorney to see how, I'm trying to think how to word this, if we did want to do some type of shared construction here, if block is what they want, we would pay what it would be to concrete, go ahead and do the block, and then who would be responsible for maintenance there on out?
I can ask the question.
Because and the understanding is if this is in our right-of-way, it can't be altered. So once it's up, it's up. It can't be added to. or anything of that nature, I would imagine. I mean,
Usually what comes up is the maintenance. After a period of time, one thing, we plan for what we put in, but if it's something above and beyond what we put in, well,
I guess we'll, if everybody's in agreement, just defer this to the next meeting. I hate kicking cans down the road, but, we'll talk with you all as to see if that's an option. I mean, it's going to be an expensive option, but, see what we can work out with the ongoing maintenance and all that type of thing, so. All right, so that's what we'll do. Moving on, I guess, Dan, you're back up again for 9106. Is it? Yeah, Madge.
Yeah, this is another old business item. So if you recall, August of last year, we brought this to the committee's attention. This particular address, 9106 Madge, which is just west of high school on the south side of Madge. They had a sewer backup, so they had no flow whatsoever. So the resident called, did the sewer lateral repair program. First person to respond was Tope. Tope went out there, dug it up. It's the blockage, the failure was like right by the driveway apron, dug it up, fixed it. But then he also cabled the line to see where it went past that obstruction and failure point, and it actually runs parallel to the tree lawn on the south side of Madge until it connects to the trunk line that MSD owns on High School. So we thought, well, how can that be? Normally a sewer lateral runs perpendicular to the trunk line in your street or behind your house. This one does a 90-degree bend and then goes to High School, and it's because this is one of the older homes on the block. So the best I can tell is that probably Madge didn't have a sewer, High School did. So this house was built 99 years ago, 1927. So they just ran it to the closest sewer, tied into it. Everyone's happy until this failure happens, and now we see that there's an issue. So to complicate things, there's a city-owned tree that's in the tree lawn that its roots can get into that 99-year-old clay pipe and obstruct it. So what we discussed last year was we could either tie on to the pipe that's MSD's, it's out in the street, that's like $6,500, or just leave it the way it is because he has flow again, and then periodically possibly cable it or inspect it. A year later, now, we're looking to the committee for direction. Do you want to cable it, inspect it? I know typically a CCTV is in the neighborhood of $300. So you can run the camera through there, you can inspect, you can see if you have any issues. If there's no issues, then you're done. If you see roots or some issue, well, then you need to take corrective action. So I guess what we're asking tonight is, do we want to go ahead and do a video inspection? And if we see any tree roots, either pull those out, or if we see some other major defect, bring that back with the video and say, hey, now is the time to go ahead and tie into the street.
I would recommend doing the video camera for $300, and then if there is an issue, then come back, because if it's going to be this ongoing cost, it may make sense to tie it in the front, but I would definitely think spending $300 now is a good thing to do.
Second? Second. Yeah, this is a individual in our ward, and he's asked for this. He's all of a sudden just pretty much had a lateral, his own lateral line has now just become a 90-foot long lateral where most of us just connect into the sewer main. He's like the last man standing on that lateral, and he just doesn't want to have a sewer block up. Dan, I know we have a benchmark, that's been cleared. So now when you camera this, if you see nothing wrong, as Nancy said, then, come back and decide what we're going to do. But I have a feeling this may become an annual thing. But I'm hoping by having the benchmark that it's cleared, we camera and see that it is still cleared. I mean, that tree may no longer be a problem.
I know years ago, the pipe was repaired in that tree lawn only. I didn't include, there is a video. I didn't want to make you watch a 6.5-minute sewer video since I know you have more important things to do. So I took some screenshots. I would freeze the video, take a screenshot, drop it into Word. So I started out where the failure was and then, showed you a few feet down the line, there was an offset, and then where it connects to MSD. But in between where it connects to MSD and the failure, there was maybe a 5-foot piece that was new PVC. So I mean, it's going to experience failures sooner or later on a 100-year-old pipe. So, but when we do inspect it, we can bring the whole video. I wouldn't think it'd be as long because it's easier to cable through and see everything because there's no defect that we know of.
And I know we tried to bring this before MSD to try to get him onto that main, and they,
Right.
if it isn't broken, they're not going to fix it, so.
Right, MSD said you have sewer service, we're not gonna give you the tap and the pipe for free because you're connected to high school.
Any other comments? Can we have a roll call vote? Oh, well, we're not forwarding this, it's just recommending staff, so all in favor? Say aye. Anyone opposed? All right, Dan.
Okay.
Move on to new business. We have the waste reduction grant.
Yeah, this is actually a good one. The county always gives us opportunities to submit for free money. So in this case, in the past, we've submitted for like recycle carts. I'd asked them if they had money for recycle carts this year. They said no, but they have these other events that they're willing to pay money for. New to the program would be latex paint recycling. One, we've never done it. Two, I think they just started funding it this year. I know Baldwin did an event. So they've done electronics and paper shredding in the past. We've always budgeted for it, but now we can actually submit on the events that are in the future. We can't ask for money we've already expended, but we can ask for events that are coming up in May. So Michelle Boyer and I submitted for the 3 electronics, 3 paper shred, and there's actually 2 latex events. We were asking for $10,000. They did approve us, but up to $25,000. And the reason why they added so much more money is because they said if you're a resident of St. Louis County, they take into account the negative value on the electronics, meaning like a plasma TV or a projection. If you rock one of those old ones, probably should have been already recycled, but anything that's like electronics that they would normally charge, as long as you're a St. Louis County resident, they'll go ahead and they'll pay for it. So if they were going to charge you $50 like we've done in the past, it would be comped. You wouldn't pay anything. That's why they boosted the threshold. And they said, if we go through that and still have like another event to come see them, but once this is approved, assuming that we want to proceed with this, then it's good for a year from the time it's actually approved, meaning the contract agreement. So the next steps, since they said they funded us up to $25,000, I need to bring a resolution to the next board meeting. Once the resolution's approved, goes to the county, then the county sends back a contract for BOLA signature. And then that's, if you want to proceed in that direction. But they would, give us money back for these other events once we prove that we've done them and give the receipts.
So this is something that came out of the Sustainability Commission, especially the new idea with paint, and the commission's really excited about it. People are volunteering for the May. There's a paper and a recycling the first 2 Saturdays of May. So people on the commission are volunteering to help, which is part of the grant. So it's just a great thing, and I will make a motion to forward this on to the Board of Aldermen so we can get moving before the May events.
Second.
Go ahead anyhow. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Okay.
Dan, we'll move on to 8837 White Avenue.
8837 White Avenue is part of the Stormwater Master Plan. It's actually Site 42 that's in your packet. The issue there is that it appears to be that the sidewalk and the driveway are at a low elevation. This particular area of White is like directly in line with Anna Lee is the closest side street. Unusual that there's no storm inlets, so Brentwood Boulevard is at a higher elevation. Its water comes down White. There's nothing on the north or south side of White to pick this up. There's nothing at Anna Lee to pick up water. It just keeps going. There is a storm inlet I found like closer to Hill, which is to the west of there, but these folks seem to be in like a trough type area. So when it does rain, there is standing water in that sidewalk and driveway area. One of the thoughts we had was to keep it more in the street, so we put a little asphalt berm. That really didn't do much because there's 2 points of runoff, both from the 8901 and the 8837 White. So 8901 actually has a pipe right by the sidewalk. So it's gutter and downspout is discharged right at the north edge of the sidewalk. So even if I raise the sidewalk and driveway, if that water's still spraying out at that edge of the sidewalk, it's just gonna pool to the north of the driveway. You know, you'll have some relief, but then that resident's gonna have to drive through ponded water on their driveway instead of more or less in the street and apron. So what we're thinking is it needs to be a two-pronged approach. If we want to do this, one, it's not in the current bid package one. We did look at it part of bid package two when we talked with Ways and Means a year ago. It's a small amount. I believe that we can do it ourselves, just doing the concrete of the sidewalk and the apron. And it would be somewhere in the $1,500, $3,000 range, you know, material-wise, and the labor's our labor. So Gonzalez had ballparked it at 5,310. Again, it would be out of sequence. It's ranked number 11, so it would move ahead, but you could do them concurrently if we're doing bid package one. You could do this in 26, and then it's just off the list, kind of like we did with Mary Avenue, where a contractor was there doing some grading. It was to our benefit to go ahead and have them do some grading. That resolved that one.
Okay, so I don't really have questions, but I completely think we should do this. I have been the voice that has said, no, we have to do them in order. And I was wrong about the thing on Mary. We had a contractor there. It got fixed. It was great. This is such a small amount of money. I think we can solve it. It's also really a traveled thoroughfare with the students. So all the students on the east side have a crossing guard at White, and so they bike and they walk across here. And then, as you can see in the picture, the sidewalk is either, if it's raining or if it's icy, then the kids go in the street, and there's it's not safe. This needs to be fixed. The resident who lives at 8837 has a sump pump. It is too close, so he met yesterday. They're willing to move it back. They're really, they're happy to do that. I'm not sure that you've talked to the resident that has the downspouts, the next door neighbor that has the downspouts, but I do know the homeowner at 8837 is going to cooperate and do that and do all this at the same time. So I think this is a great use of city resources.
Yeah, I think, we can pick off some of the low-hanging fruit on some of these. I don't really care about ranking either. And while this is this wasn't a private public, this was all public, right?
Correct. This is all on the city's rights of way.
Yeah, sorry, I got confused. So there's water contributing from the homes. So a lot of the water is coming from the street, but there's also water contributing from the homes, and at least one of the two homeowners definitely wants to work and pull theirs back and cooperate and do anything they can to solve this.
One of them.
Well, that's going to be my point. I think it's publicly funded, but I think we need some private cooperation to solve the problem. My only other question is, Dan, how high are we raising that sidewalk?
At its highest point, we estimated 4 inches. We're going to have to cut just a little bit on the back side of the driveway to keep that slope in line with the rest of the driveway.
Yeah.
But we didn't want to create like a hump. I know that they've got larger vehicles, they should be able to get over it, but, that doesn't mean anything. There could be people visiting there and lower.
I'm just more worried at the apron part. That's such a short apron. We're not going to cause a problem where somebody's car bottoms out trying to get up their driveway or anything.
No, we can fix it out at the street too, is what we thought. We'd start like changing it a little bit in front of there to create more of a gradual. We've got some, a rod and a level, and we figure we take some shots and then put some string out there and then mark it out in the field as to how it's supposed to be, and then tear it out, build it, pour it. It's gonna take multiple sidewalk slabs too, because they don't want to have a big, it's got to meet ADA. If I start changing it too drastically, it's harder to chase that down. It's still pretty flat. Bringing it up, we'll move it on both sides, east and west of that driveway, and then we should be fine. And if the private property owners take care of their runoff issues, I think that should stay dry. The only other thing I had an idea was I got to see what material we have still in stock. If we did that in rubber way, because I thought, well, then you're creating a porous surface. It's still solid, like the sidewalk we did on Pine. That way, if there is any runoff from the street, maybe it'll go into the pores of the sidewalk and stay in the gravel bed underneath. Trying to make the best thing we can with as little funding.
So on the rubberway, would that that wouldn't be the driveway. That would
No, I
just
don't
be
want to
this-
do that
Yeah,
because I don't
yeah.
know how well it'll hold up.
Right, but the sidewalk slabs, you might
Yeah, I
consider
figured the
that.
slabs on either side, it's like if I can create some porous areas, maybe some of that runoff would go there and sink through quicker than just holding it until it evaporates.
Are you looking for direction, or is this have to go to the board?
I'm not sure.
For fif-
Yeah, because,
Absorb that within his budget, can't you?
yeah, we have
If
money.
you vote and give
Streets and
direction,
sidewalk?
that should be sufficient.
Yeah, you're right, yeah, yeah. It was just really, can we be directed to do it out of order? But yes, to your point, I do have budget for materials for doing sidewalks and
I mean,
streets.
you certainly can change your mind. You all were very emphatic last time.
Me, I was the emphatic one. It was me.
Don't
I was
change
wrong.
the priority. And so what does this do to the entire stormwater master plan? If we start moving things out of order? Maybe we just deal with it as it happens. Or, it just depends on the magnitude of the problem and how those residents engage.
Well, I mean, I would certainly say in the situation on Mary, we had a contractor there, and we looked to address it, and we addressed it. I think this is one that is such a small dollar amount, and our staff thinks they can fix it. It seems logical to fix. I mean, the rest of them seem, at least from the initial bid situation, to be really expensive. And so, if you have a $50,000 one that's number 5 and a $50,000 one that's number 20, I mean, unless there's a contractor there, I feel like we ought to stay in order and follow it, but some of these little, well, there aren't a lot of little, this is like the one little off one that,
So this shouldn't create any other issues, so we can just go forward once the committee gives Dan direction to go ahead and do it.
so I would direct staff to proceed with working on the driveway apron at 8837 White, and also working with the 2 residents on the runoff from the homes that is also going to that section.
Second? Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Direction, Dan. We'll move on to 8C, which is 2828 Manderley.
Yes, 2828 Manderley and 2832 Manderley. That's the retaining wall that's between those 2 homes. It's leaning. We've discussed this one before. I know we needed easements. We do have one from the one on 28, I believe it's 2828. Yeah. We do have one. The other one wants a little more detail. So we did drop off a block sample, to show her what it would look like. One of the things she pointed out, she wants a different color. This is gray, this is standard. She said, more earth tones, so I'm thinking brown. So I'm gonna ask the, contractor, give me some brown samples or at least a little color wheel or something. And then she didn't like the texture, thought it was too smooth, even though that is the front that you see in the picture, that's rough, I think. She thought maybe they had something that's a little more, I guess, variable, that it's not more in that plane, but maybe larger pieces sticking out like rock, which I don't know if they do. So I'm gonna bring that back to her, but within the packet, I do have the quote from the contractor for $40,296.36. That is for the demolition of the existing wall, demolition of the asphalt trail, the new block wall, and a 6-foot-high privacy fence to replace the chain link fence, because we can't go back with chain link. Once we remove the chain link, we have to go with 6-foot wooden fence. So that's all inclusive in that $40,296 price tag. So if the committee supports it, we can take that to the board and then work out the details on the color and texture with the resident. Then they can get started, sometime this year and get that knocked out. I know they wanted to do it, he said typically you would do it after spring because he doesn't want it to be rainy, because when you pull that away, you're gonna have that dirt exposed. So he's like, you wanna look for a long dry period, knock it out, get it done. And then between the block wall and the garage, then Public Works would come in and restore the area, because he doesn't have that in there, but we can do that ourselves. I don't need to, I've got my own material budget.
And I just, unlike the other retaining wall we just talked about, for the new people on the board, we aren't doing this on somebody's private ground. This was a pathway that the city owned with a bunch of other pathways, half of them we didn't even know we owned. And at some point, we decided to vacate these pathways. And if you look at some of the pictures in here, the pathway had a falling retaining wall, uneven asphalt. It was just a mess, and these two women that own the houses on either side live in my ward, and I just couldn't see us we didn't want to maintain it, but yet here we are dumping it onto two homeowners. So this has remained public property, and we're going to correct what's there, and then it will be, I don't want to say vacated, I guess it would be, what's the term for it when we hand it over to the new? Properly vacate to the one owner that's entitled to it based on how those neighborhoods were developed. So I just want it to be very clear that this is still public ground we're doing this on, that we're not doing anything on private property here. So that's just my tidbit on that. So I guess I'm looking, any other questions for Dan on this? And it looks like, Dan, I think we started out at $90,000 for this thing.
Yeah, when we were doing budget over a year ago, it started out to the point of, I couldn't understand. It's like 99,000. Then it went down to like somewhere in the 60s, then 50-ish, and then most recently, in this lower 40, which is great. It just keeps going down. And this is the same type block that was proposed for the one earlier at Collier and Russell. So if you did go with block, for theirs, that's what it would have looked like. But this is for the one over on Manderley. And like I said, so far she agrees that in principle, that looks okay, but wanted a different texture and color and trying to work through it.
So I guess I would entertain a motion to forward onto the full board a proposal from J.E. Novak for this retaining wall or improvements on the pathway.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Well, if it's going on the board, let's do a voice vote.
Alderwoman Tice.
Yes.
Alderwoman Gold.
Yes.
Alderman Erger.
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, now we're moving down to, I guess it's still you, Dan.
Yep.
Planning along Black Creek.
Yes. We were asked to take a look at Black Creek, the area that was repaired. If you recall, we had the storms years ago that washed out a huge chunk of the Leewind Trail. So this would be along Rosalie going north of the Litzinger Road Bridge. So Castle did these scour lock baskets, so those large baskets with the wire mesh that hold the rock and the filter fabric in them. So those are at the base, there's stepped up, and once you reach so high, then it's fabric and then heavy like boulders on top of that. So that's keeping the slope stable, because the failure, it was the toe, the part that's down at the bottom, in the bottom of the creek, it blew out, and that sidewalk was undermined, and, it was just terrible. It scoured around the wing wall of the bridge. This took care of that. We reached out to Castle. They said they would not recommend planting anything in this for the fear of penetrating through that fabric, and then root intrusion allows water to go back through, and then you create more scour, and then possibly failure. So they're like, we don't recommend that you put any kind of vegetation. If you have like grass or weeds or something, that's no big deal. With trees, those roots keep growing, and it's going to break something. And they said it's also going to probably grow towards the sidewalk and then lift up the sidewalk, then you've got a trip hazard. So they're like, why would you want to do that? There are trees in other areas that haven't failed, but there's nothing to really be done in that slope failure area. The other side, I don't know who owns per se. I don't know if you can do anything over there. But I know in the failed area that's ours, I would not recommend doing anything.
Ed?
I was just going to add that we would also need to, we've reached out to SEMA because our understanding and what we've been told is even planting trees could alter the flow of any flooding, so therefore we would have to look at a floodplain permit and engineer no rise because this would be in the floodway.
All right, we'll move on to citizen comment. Anybody have a comment to be made at the podium? State your name and address.
Alice Gleason, 8312 Rosalie, and thank you for looking into things. I did wonder about planting trees like in the sections that, and I guess maybe this has been already answered, in the sections that don't have the rocks, because yes, we understand, you wouldn't want to try to mess with those rocks, that's serving their purpose. But also, just want to thank whomever was involved with, about the lighting. You know, we brought that to the Board of Aldermen meeting. And basically because, to remind y'all, when I moved here in 1992, we didn't see the industrial court. And now that's wide open to us. And that was even in December when I bought, when you would think, you know, there's certainly no leaves on the bushes then and such like that. So we know we can't put things back to the way they were. And honestly, kind of went, okay, this is what it is. This is what we have to live with now, until thinking about the new building that was going to be built. And the new building, I don't care, again, that's great. Another building, that's super. But all of a sudden I went, oh my gosh, the lighting, you know, it's just so ridiculous, the lighting. And it's partly because since 1992, not only have we not had the trees and such, but LED lighting is way more, you know, pervasive and whatever. And so we gave the example of the two lights that were right in front of us, right at us, that were on the parking lot for the, I guess it's Carboline, I don't know. Anyway, that was an example, and thank you. I think John went to them and got them to lower them, and they're certainly much better than they were. But I would just help remind that that was an example. There's certainly many other lights. We look off into a distance and go, why are we seeing this when we're a quarter mile away? It's just how it is. I realize that. I know that that's all over the place, that lights are getting put on buildings that don't really have anything that makes them stay over towards the building. You know, they kind of go out. Everything goes out. And so maybe just a reminder to please, as things get, buildings built or I don't know, and if you want me to scout out, I probably could find those other and complain about those too. But I'm not really in the business. We're not really in the business of trying to make trouble. But it's just keep it as a thought, because I think businesses aren't thinking about it. I don't think they're out to get us with their lights. But since we now look right into the industrial court, it's not pleasant at night either. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming out. All right. Well, I guess, Sully, this is your last meeting.
I can't thank you enough for all the guidance you guys have provided along the way. So,
All right. All right, without any other items on the agenda, I'll say this meeting is adjourned.